Skill shot.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the tent, or should I say to the graveyard, which is outside the tent, and a hyena skull. My name is Steve. I'm joined by Simzo Mkize on camera, and indeed, as Trishala has told you, we are doing a hyena-themed afternoon with regards to the den sites, the interaction around the den sites, the threats imposed to these animals around the dens, and then also the interactions that the hyena have had over the years with animals in and around. So it is going to be a very, very cool afternoon. Don't forget to send your questions and comments, hashtag Safari Live, and let's see how we go. Well, let's start by going inside the tent, shall we? And, well, there's been lots of footage, and I'm sure there's been footage for years and years and years, and Faith has managed to put together a few packages on the dens and the interaction. I think it's impossible to be able to cover all of it. I don't think we've got 2 years to do so. So we put together a little bit of stuff to get it all together. But let's start off with a little bit of an introduction to the den sites that we know over the last few years. And here, if we look at this beautiful map that you're all very familiar with, there's a couple of dates and a couple of question marks, and these are the dens that we know of on djuma. One of them was around over here. It's off the Zoe's Road. From 2010, Sebastian said animals were there, and then a number of other times they've come and gone. 2015, 2016, I'm not 100% sure. And then right up in here in the north, in the Aubrey's Junction, there was also a den site there in about 2016. Then here, close to camp, just above Gallagher, 2016, 2017. At some stage during that period, most of last year, the hyenas were somewhere in the north here. We're not sure. They were in Buffelshoek. They were coming and going. We didn't spend any time with them. And then out of nowhere, 2018, towards the end of the year, the Djuma clan returned back to Djuma, and then here in the south is where we've found them recently. Linda, a perfect placemat. Well, we can maybe send you a copy or two. We've gone and laminated them, and well, they work very, very well, especially for drawing on. We can go and wipe and rub and clean continuously. But folks, the reason for den sites, why do hyenas have dens? And Trish touched on it briefly with the terrapin and tortoises alike. They have somewhere to hide, somewhere to secure themselves. Namely, lions will spend or will have 2, 3, 4 cubs at some point, but the success rate of lions is very, very low. Cheetah as well, we've seen with Scott last year, with Kekenya, with Naratoy. We haven't had the best amount of luck with the cheetah because they don't have a proper den. Whereas hyena, wild dog, they manage to dig holes in the ground associated with, obviously, the big termite mounds that we find around here. And the purpose of them is for breeding, is for the survival of their cubs. And, well, we're going to jump on board and have a little look at some clips of the den sites over the years. So I'm just going to grab my little mouse over there. I'm going to push play, and let's have a look at this, shall we? Okay, so over the years, the den sites have been obviously used by the same sorts of termite mounds. 2014, please don't ask me to identify all these hyenas. It's going to be hard work. But it's a place for them to lie up. It's a place for them to greet each other. It's a place for them to secure and hide their cubs, where you can see they're always very, very close to the den, always very close to disappearing as youngsters come, youngsters go. Underneath the ground is beautifully, beautifully sort of secure for them. You can see how fat the bellies are after nights of foraging, coming back to suckle the youngsters, who get very excited at the return of the adults, sometimes a bit nervous as others move around the den, but the safety of being inside there affords the youngsters the perfect opportunity to grow, the perfect opportunity to hide as well. And, well, it is a hive of activity for the adults, for the youngsters, a place of determining who's who in the zoo when it comes to being a hyena. And, well, as we've seen, the success of the hyenas over the years is generally quite good due to the fact that they're able to keep them underground, where the adults can dig small holes in the ground and the youngsters can dig even further in to small cavities that will protect them or afford them protection from all of the animals that might try to do them harm. So this 2018, I'm not 100% sure where this den is. I think it's around the, this must be, I'm not 100% sure. This doesn't look familiar to the one around Aubrey's or the one around Philemon's Dip, but no doubt the hyena there we go. Food is brought back from time to time for the matriarch, and it is only the matriarch's youngsters that will be able to feed. And, so special to be able to see hyenas around the den. And as we said, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and possibly even a sixth one down here in the bottom. This is the one over here that James Hendry himself got caught in during the Gauntlet series not so long ago. There it is. And, we don't know how long ago that they had that. MCAT, hyenas don't have many cubs. They have 2. 2 is the average, sometimes 1, but generally 2. I've never heard of 3. It's possible, but I've never heard of 3. And who knows what goes on under the ground inside the den. The dynamics of inside dens, inside the hyena world itself, there is infanticide, or should I say Cainism, whereby young hyenas possibly kill their siblings. It is a debate that we're not 100% sure of, because no one really goes inside and explores the idiosyncrasies of hyenas at that very small age. We do know that they're born with erupted teeth, and they are capable of inflicting quite severe wounds on each other. And when their offspring or the sibling is very small, it is potentially possible for them to kill the smaller of the two, kind of the runt of the litter, or the upcoming female matriarch. She might be able to do that. The daughter of the matriarch might kill her sibling as a sort of aggression sort of stage building up. It is something people discuss. It is something that is very interesting to sort of think about, but I've never seen anything like that. We do know that underground, the safety afforded to hyenas is awesome, but obviously the safety afforded to them from their siblings trying to kill them, well, there's not much you can do. But that's the rivalry and the desire to become important in a hyena den. And if you're not able to survive the early stages, well, then you'll never be able to survive into the future of the clan, where but the hierarchy, the dominance, and all of those idiosyncrasies are going to constantly plague that individual for the rest of their life. But anyway, while we continue to discuss and think about hyenas in djuma, there are also plenty of hyena in the Masai Mara, as David Gitu will surely be able to tell you. Thanks, Trish. Well, I had some insects this morning myself that went into my mouth again like the other day. And Seb tried to record me nearly vomiting again. It's one of those things this time of year. Lots of flying insects coming out of the ground. Who knows? Is it just not just termites, all sorts of other things. But it's not only the hyenas that have homes and tortoises. We also have giant land snails, which like to hide inside there. There's a bit of protection. Smells quite funky in there, and other organisms could actually live inside there. Like if you think of hermit crabs and things like that, will actually utilize the homes of others. So squatters, if you will. But talking about squatters, is it true or is it false? Hukumuri, the interloper from the west, materialized last week with myself and Senzo. He came out of nowhere. We were told he was coming in. We drove in to see if we could find him, and well, he certainly did.
Rainers washed hyena mother and matriarch. Hukumuri composed himself and continued his patrol south, giving the djuma den a very wide berth.
How awesome was that? We spent 2 drives with him. I actually was mistaken. I forgot it wasn't Sense. It was BK, in fact, that we found. And, well, Hukumuri definitely came in after the rains. He definitely was scent marking. He was definitely here. He wants to stay. Tingana's probably going to call him a squatter, but he's definitely trying to put his mark in on the western side. And it was quite interesting to see how exactly he moved, because he came in over here. Where did he come in? We found him... Where were we? Yeah, we found him over here the night before. So he came in from the west, came in there, and we followed him all the way through to here. And we left him sort of on this area here in the night. In the morning, we came back, and we found him running down this road directly towards us. And then we actually found tracks later that day that were from him. He was up and down Aubrey's Road in the west here, and then there were tracks of Tingana up and down this road in the west, a bit east, and then Tingana actually went all the way straight down here and out at Twin Dams, whereas Hukumuri came straight down, straight through the middle, and past Treehouse Dam, and then to the new den, which is over here, and then he disappeared out through the side there. Giraffe Girl, yes, we were so excited when he found it. I mean, we were following him for the longest time, getting in front, getting those really awesome images of him walking, and that just the powerhouse of a cat as he walks so nonchalantly, not bothered by anybody, and then suddenly he stopped. And we didn't see it initially. Rexon was just in front of us. He said, Hyena Den. He'd obviously seen the youngsters go down, and then suddenly Corky, the brave female that she is, she just came charging in completely, no risk to her. She just goes, Hukumuri, you better move on, young sir. And he was very quick to turn and run from her attentions. Seeing him cower like that was quite something. JC Child, you want to know if Hosana's dispersed? Well, he seems to have for now. He did one of these walkabouts last year. He went all the way down to sort of the Londolozi area, about 20 odd kilometers south of us. He came back up through Elephant Plains, and then he just materialized back here. I think it was about 3-month jaunt he went on. And I think now with Hukumuri pushing in from the from the west, there's activity with quarantine pushing in from the east against Tingana. Tingana's battling up in the north against djuma. There's that unknown male just south of the den that we saw on the last TV show the week before last, and he came out of nowhere. So I think Hosana's suddenly finding himself in the middle of this sort of battle for the territory, and he's also starting to get a little bit sort of brave himself. He's scent marking, he's tasting the urine, he's trying to make a go of it, but it's time for him to walk away, and it's time for him to go and see if he can find a territory of his own. And also a little bit of travel will do him good. He'll experience new places, he'll meet new ladies, he'll move away from his relatives, which is a good thing. From a gene pool, you don't want leopards to stay too close, because otherwise they'll start mating with cousins and with sisters and things like that. It doesn't happen in hyenas. Hyenas disperse, they push themselves away, and you'll always find males moving to other dens where females will stay. So it's a natural process with leopards. Males in lions and leopards, they move away until they're eventually big enough and strong enough to then say, I've had enough, I'm going to stand my ground here. I mean, Hosana doesn't even have any battle scars yet. Doesn't even have a little bit of a battle scar. He'll get them. He's going to meet up with a few leopards. He's going to stand his ground one day. He's going to stand his ground on a kill. I suppose he's just no match for Tingana at the moment. And so maybe he should go off and find an area that's vacant. Because as many of you have suggested, Tingana's still going to be around for another year or so. And well, it's time for Hosana to spread his wings and maybe move away and then in a year come back. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe he'll do that. The world's coolest leopard by far. Well, it was really so cool for us to have seen the djuma den that day with Corky, and then to find out that June, in fact, is the mother of those two youngsters, because how special it is to find a very low-ranking female. So it's going to be so cool to be watching how Plonk and those two youngsters interact with each other around the den to see if they do pick up their mom's rank and how exactly Plonk sorts them out. Because the last time we saw them, Plonk was getting an absolute earful from the two of them. But anyway, David is up in the Mara. He's found some very cool animals, the topi, and hopefully they're avoiding some predators. Well, Isaac, it is so special to be able to see all of that on screen, and just to watch that clip with those little youngsters. This is so heartwarming. It just wants to make you melt, doesn't it? That little one. Yep. It's just the cutest things in the world. And Isaac's 100% right about how they communally suckle. Lions will have 2, 3, 4 cubs, and then they can assist each other in the rearing of their cubs. Hyenas will not. A hyena mum will have 2, and if she somehow dies or disappears or whatever happens, well, those cubs are going to starve. So they are her responsibility 100%. And being around the den, it is mum's responsibility to come back and suckle them. And talking about the den sites again, we haven't seen Pretty, so we don't know where Pretty's 2 cubs are. I mean, it's possible that because they were denning south of our boundary, somewhere in a little Gowrie over here. We don't know where exactly, but the vehicles down south were quite adamant that they were all denning down here at one stage, and now they have disappeared completely. So maybe Pretty with her youngsters is somewhere nearby still, because I haven't seen her at the den. Senzo seems to think he might have seen Pretty's 2 youngsters there yesterday, but that would be interesting to go back and have a look at that, because, well, we haven't seen Pretty and those 2 gives. I haven't in some time. But, well, when it comes to hyenas and the purpose of the den is obviously for protection, and protection from all sorts of things, because it comes from the big, from the small. And we're going to have a quick look at a little clip to show you exactly what sort of threats and interesting facts happen around these den sites. So we're just going to frame up here, Sens, and we're just going to then push play, and there we go, ready with a little head poking out. So the threats come in large shapes, such as elephants, who clearly aren't too much of a danger, but the inquisitiveness of the cubs doesn't mean they're going to come out and sniff the feet of an elephant. But wild dogs, well, one-on-one, a wild dog is probably much easily overpowered by a hyena, but they do sort of bring forward a united front, and they will kill hyena cubs if they can. Obviously, the den site allows the cubs protection, and they will go underneath when frightened, as you'll see here. This lioness, probably of the Unkuhumas, it's hard to say. This is the den site just north of Galago. This lioness came in. The adults are out of there. They're not going to stand their ground against her. We've seen the Unkuhumas deal the hyenas here huge blows. They don't come anywhere near them, and she would very, very readily eat one of those cubs if she should get it out. But they do bury themselves in very, very deep into small little cavities and little escapes, which is how hyenas are able to be quite successful in the rearing of their cubs. But the danger lurking around the den cannot be overestimated or underestimated, as this evoker male, if you don't want to watch, turn away now, gave Corky a proper hiding here. But she managed to catch him on the end of the mouth at one point here. And, well, how he didn't kill her is just testament to the ability and the resilience of these individuals. And around the den site, lions, leopards are the biggest threat, as well as obviously wild dog who can come through. So very, very interesting, the threats that are bound around hyena dens. I'm sure there have been thousands over the years here, but the safety of their home, the safety of the den really, really works well, because the adults can just book it and get out of there. Corky, I think, stood her ground for a little bit too long. I wasn't in the sighting. Senzo, you were there, eh? No, it was Sydney. But she stood her ground for a little bit longer than she should have, when before you saw that last lioness came. The hyenas were gone. So better to just run away. That big male lion's not going to get those cubs from out of that hole. He just won't. He might have a go, but he won't get in there. They can dig, but nowhere near as efficiently as hyenas can with their claws. But the den site and the suitability of them obviously could cause hyenas to move if the threats increase around the den. For example, leopards and lions making regular visits to den site might cause them to move off. Sorry, Faith, I didn't quite get that question there. But so the choice of the den, obviously we've seen the djuma den moved from that site where the evoker male attacked Corky. They disappeared, and then they came back again, which very happy about that. So, Mrs. Zera, you want to know why they're matriarchal, not patriarchal, and that's very interesting. It's one of those sort of evolutionary things that has happened along the way. The females have sort of, through a matriarchal system, how that developed initially is very hard to really wrap your head around it, but it obviously got something to do with the size of the females. A dominant female is generally got more testosterone in her, which is actually injected into her in birth, and it often is brought about by her mother. If her mother's dominant, she's often injected with a little bit more testosterone in the womb, just like males would be, but a little bit more, which means that they come out bigger and stronger. But it's one of those sort of niches that they fitted into in the environment. I mean, if you think about lions are essentially led by the females, and they look after the cubs, and the males basically just come and go. Hyenas have established a very, very solid society underneath a lead female, and it's because of her offspring moving forward that the clan proliferates. So over many, many, many millennia, that's probably evolved. Being a successful or strong female has had cubs, and those cubs have sort of followed her line. But where in history that started is very hard to say, because they are the only sort of communal hyena that we know about, and they are quite unique in everything that they do, and there's so many dynamics behind it. It makes it very hard to really understand. You need to spend time at the den to see how they interact with each other, to see how the dominance is displayed between females, between the males, and it's just a very long evolutionary history. But I'm not 100% sure exactly how how it came about. They lead the clan, I suppose, but there's aggression there. When you see elephants, females also are matriarchs, they lead the clan. There's not really that much aggression. There's more sort of an understanding between them, sort of almost like what we see in humans, more of a passed down lineage. Whereas hyena, it's all about dominance, it's all about aggression, and it's all about who's bigger than who in the hyena world. So I hope that explains your answer, your question there. Alex, people don't understand hyenas, and I think many of the viewers and many of you back home, and maybe you included, after watching the show, have developed a love for them. They are, initially, and you look at them in children's sort of comics such as The Lion King and in all sorts of other sort of depictions of them, they are scavengers, they are the lowest of the low on the earth, and they're dirty and they look funny, and so people have just got a very bad image of them over the years. But when you spend time with them inside their society and you see how dynamic they are, I mean, you compare the djuma den with the North Clan, there's just so many differences between how they behave and how they hunt and how they interact with lions, and they really are a very, very dynamic and diverse organism that has evolved on the African plains, fitted into a niche that probably happened many, many years ago. We're not sure about the origin, if they came from Europe, if they came from Africa, but they fitted into a period of time when the saber-toothed tigers were basically killing animals but not able to eat all of the bones or the fur or the flesh, and because of the very strange teeth. And so hyenas fitted into this niche whereby they were scavenging, but slowly over time that dynamic of sort of a hierarchy developed to make them one of the most successful predators on the African plains. And going right deep down into the hierarchy of them and the dynamics, and the footage we've put forward really starts to develop a little bit of a love for them. Everyone looks at cats and goes, oh, we love our cats, we love lions, but lions are bigger scavengers than hyena are, really. And that male lion who tried to kill Corker there, he's a cheeky boy. Okay, well, I think I might have lost comms there, but Sense? Okay, so it seems like Senzo is going to have to change his battery soon, Faith. So if we can possibly link over to someone, that would be great while we sort that out. And okay, so we're going to go back up to the Masai Mara so David can continue his discussion, but I think he's found for you some olive baboons. Well, thank you, Isaac. I can't help but just keep staring at the screen there while you've got these beautiful little cubs playing. And really, that one youngster is so dark. I don't think I've ever seen a little lion cub so dark in color. I mean, maybe just a contrast with the pale lioness there, but very, very interesting. And well, when they're playing like that, it's obviously after a little bit of milk, they just sort of get full of beans and they run around. I think all of you back home who've got kids know there's that moment where the kids go a bit crazy after dinner with the sugar rush. They run around and then suddenly they go down. Well, as Isaac says, the lionesses, when they go off to hunt, will just leave them in the long grass somewhere where they'll potentially be safe. Obviously, it's one of those risks of being a lion. The success of their offspring is determined by where they leave them and are there any threats coming around. And we've seen the threats that approach hyenas, and obviously they've got the dens underground to be able to associate, to be able to save themselves from predators. But then around the dens is also really a special place. And when we look just back at this map again, all of the den sites that we kind of know about, all of them all over the place are really, really important points of interest on the property. Unlike lions, I mean, the Sausage Tree Republic, as David affectionately calls it, he's able to find them quite regularly there. But as soon as those cubs get a bit bigger, it's going to be very hard to keep up with them, very hard to find them. But when we've got a den site, like we do with the hyenas, what a place to go and watch and see the activity. Now, our next clip is looking at hyena dens and the socialization that goes on around them. And if spending time around a hyena den isn't your thing, well, then it's time for you to go make a coffee. But I know it's for everybody. So we're going to just get ready here. We've got the clip and we're going to push play, and there we go. So this is where the youngsters, big and small, interact with each other. You can see the one on the right there is far smaller than the other one, but there's a dominance involved there. It's where social standing is met out. Is now going to catch a beating from two of them, and that is the purpose of an ear and a foot, is to be tugged at and pulled at as mum sits back there and does absolutely nothing. This is the youngsters. They need to sort it out for themselves. There's lots of biting, lots of play that goes on, all very important stages in hyena society, as in with the lions. All those fights and tackles that you see are very important in bringing in the skills that they need to eventually become a good hunter. Whereas the hyena, all of these skills are designed for social standing and hierarchy. That little nip at the ankle there, possibly something to take down an impala, but all of this is to see where they stand in sort of the royal lineage of hyenas. And well, haven't we spent so much time with the North Clan and also with the djuma Den? I mean, some of you have been watching for years. You've probably seen years and years worth of footage of hyenas at dens. And I know for the most part of last year, we had no den on the property. And every single week, almost every day, people were asking, Steve, have you found the hyena den yet? And I kept going, no, we haven't. And now that we've got them back again, everyone is very excited. And hopefully we get to spend a bit more time with them. But we are noticing they are coming out a little bit later in the afternoon. And that's probably to do with maybe the temperatures we've been having. They do have at the new den their new social swimming pool really nearby, which is a very good sort of association for the hyenas, almost like the royal family going to their summer home and their winter home all over the UK when they are moving around as they go. The royal lineage of the hyenas of djuma, well, they are on their summer home now with their ensuite swimming pool, which I think is fantastic, and they often make me rather jealous. But we are going to be spending time with them as much as we possibly can. I believe Trish is on her way there. Maybe she'll get them getting active and busy around the den, because wouldn't that be the way for us to have a Safari Live episode with exactly the hyenas we're talking about? Because I hope they will pop out for you with Trisha a little bit later. But while we wait to see if she has any luck there, we're going to go all the way back up to the Masai Mara with David, who is probably somewhere around the Mara River, because he's got some hippos coming through there. I didn't get the name though, but on what is the difference between hyena social organization and that of other species? Well, a cheetah are essentially a male or a female with their youngsters. Yes, there we go. This is coming through now. Child in the universe, thank you very much. So cheetah are a coalition of males or a female with their youngsters, and the male will come with the female and they'll have a brief period and then they'll split. Lions, it's a pride. You have a pride of females with their youngsters. The males come and go as they secure more prides. Wild dog, they are an alpha pair and they are the ones who breed, and they have male and females subordinates within that pack that don't breed and they just assist in the rearing. When you look at spotted hyena, obviously they are matriarchy, like elephants, except there's a hierarchy within the spotted hyenas. Elephants, there doesn't seem to be a hierarchy. Just the older you are, you know, the more sort of social standing you have, and they will come and go and they'll move as they want to, but there's no real aggression shown, and the males are kind of kept away. So there's only two sort of matriarchal societies we talk about out here. But then when you look at the brown hyena are not known to be a social animal at all, although you will sometimes find them in groups. They are essentially regarded as being solitary, as with most of the cats other than lions are regarded as being solitary, same as leopards. It's the female with the offspring or the male coming in and out, really just looking after territory that the females then move inside of. And as we know, you'll possibly get 3 females to the territory of one male, and he will try and sire the offspring in all those females' territories, and then also secure that through his territorial markings, as Tingana has been doing for the last few years. But the hyenas, they just have it very differently, and how exactly it's come about by that is just a really interesting ecological sort of development or evolution development, and it's surely worked. They moved into that sort of niche. As I said, on the open plains, there's an abundance of food left after in carcasses that hyenas, with their very strong jaw and that sagittal crest on the top, allowing for the muscles to attach, allow them to really access the bones and the cartilage and all those things that all the other animals can't. So the hyenas in the Mara are able to feed throughout the year without necessarily hunting, as they can scavenge off carcasses that are left behind. Vicky, for their body size, hyenas have got the strongest bite in the animal kingdom. They reckon a crocodile's probably got a stronger bite force, but for its size, crocodiles are far bigger than hyena. Out of the predators, there's no predator that has quite got the same sort of form. Let me show you exactly what we're talking about over here. On the head of the hyena has got the sagittal crest, and that is for muscle attachment over there. So the muscles actually come down in that. If you hold your cheek on the side of your face over here and you do that. Feel how the muscle's attached here. It's only attached here somewhere to the side of our jaw, really. It's only sort of attached there. Whereas in hyena, it comes all the way up onto this top ridge here. Those muscles are attached there. And so when it's got that enormous force down. And these bones, these teeth on the side here are designed for cracking and breaking open all sorts of bones. An extremely powerful bite with those extremely powerful teeth. I mean, if we show you the leopard over here, the leopard has also got a similar sort of sagittal crest, but it's nowhere near as pronounced, so the muscle attachment is much less on there. They've also got quite a powerful bite, but they're not designed for breaking bone. They still have the same type of teeth on the side, the carnassial shear, but they're not really designed for breaking as bigger bones as hyenas do. They fit into that niche for that. Probably the most powerful teeth for the animal of their size, because they're not going to be replaced. Crocodiles, although they have got beautiful, powerful, strong teeth, their teeth are erupting underneath each other all the time. So while one tooth is there, there's another one coming up underneath. So a crocodile can lose that tooth. They'll just be replaced underneath. Hyena, like us, are going to be stuck with it for life. So they need to be careful. They are powerfully strong. They don't have the luxury of a dentist. Can you imagine that? Getting a hyena dentist out here. The smells, I think, would be quite something. Okay, well, it seems like Shoshana has managed to find something that is not impala or wildebeest. It seems to be rather big. Should we go and have a look exactly what it is?
In fact, let me show you the entrance. So go a little bit forward. There we go. At the den, the resort that the Djuma clan now stays at. So you watch the long history of how they've come from all parts of the reserve, even down to Little Gowrie, and now they're back up here. I think it's their best den site, to be honest. Now, it is quiet, nobody's home at the moment, but the cubs are definitely in there. That's what they'll do. They'll spend time inside the den when mum is gone away, especially during the day. And then mum will come back very soon, and they'll have a suckling session, and off again. Now, we were speaking about stresses that the hyenas can face. And if you look around, BK, can you get that hole there? Now, if you all remember me falling into the bit on the road the other day, when we actually went back and had a look, we saw that it had been dug up by an elephant. And that's actually around the erosion that had the walls had collapsed around. So what you're seeing there is actually a similar thing. It looks as though an elephant or something like that has dug it up, and that kind of gives you an idea. And I've seen a lot of these holes around as we've been driving from them, but it gives you an idea that these animals are interacting with other animals constantly, and that brings about stress. And that's why they have these dens. They have to safely keep cubs away. Even though cubs are fairly precocial or fairly well developed when they're born, they're still small and vulnerable, and they need to be protected. Hence, the den site. Interestingly, submissive males mostly, but also submissive, suppose, members of the clan in general, actually undergo so much stress just from the fact that they have less availability of food and that sort of thing. Now, we were speaking about stress, and interestingly, the stress that a lot of submissive hyenas undergo can actually cause genetic changes in their actual chromosomes. And tests were conducted and found that submissive hyenas had substantially shorter telomeres on their chromosomes. Telomeres are the ends of the chromosomes that are usually responsible for aging, amongst other things. And what that actually means for the submissive hyena, apparently, it means lower androstenedione, or androgens in general. So that can account for, if it's correct, remember this is all apparently, if that's correct, then that kind of accounts for how some hyenas behave submissively and are born into the submissiveness and keep it that way, and why other hyenas sort of, apart from inheriting their mother's rank socially, perhaps they actually inherit their mother's rank biologically as well, which I think is really, really interesting.
The Hyena Resort. I love that, Trish. It is such a resort, isn't it? With the little plunge pool there. All they need is some cocktail waiters to bring them some apple juice in the hot sun. It is one of those afternoons. Maybe they have decided to go and find Pretty, but some people have been agreeing that indeed one of Pretty's cubs were indeed seen at the den last night. So thank you for confirming that. Where are they denning though? It's very interesting, and it's one of those things that's important with hyenas, is that they will have communal dens, and the purpose of having a communal den is that all the individuals in the clan can smell, see, and sort of know who that animal is. If a female, for example, June, had gone off and she'd had a den on her own, away from the rest of the clan, those youngsters might not have been accepted when it came time for socialization. So young hyenas are very interested in younger hyenas, and they will play with them, they will chase them around, they will play with that social order, because it's all about social order, as we said. So sort of those communal dens are so important for the sort of livelihood of the den itself, from the clan, should I say. And if they go off on their own, coming back, they might not be received as well. So I'm sure, as Trish says, those youngsters are hiding underground. They are waiting. Who knows where Mum is? Corky and June are both off who knows where. Maybe they're off on a kill that we don't know about in the south. Maybe they've followed the Unkuhumas somewhere, because as we know, when we spend a lot of time with hyena out here, they are always on the move. Being a hyena in real life, it's not just about the den, it's not just about the youngsters. They have competition with so many other animals that are constantly in and about. And being a hyena, high ranking, low ranking, is not an easy affair. In the Masai Mara, and they do quite well in their numbers. Down here in Djuma, we don't have the same sort of numbers, but they have got lots and lots of competitors. We know them down here as quite sort of lowly scavengers, but I'm sure they do hunt in their own right. We just don't really see it. But one more clip to do to finish off the show is how exactly the hyenas interact with other animals in and around. And so we're going to start on the computer over here. It's going to start with some wild dogs. And as we know with wild dogs, the wild dogs on their own, one-on-one, will be taken out by a hyena, but they are able to come together in a unified rank. And together as a unit, a hyena doesn't stand a chance against those biting teeth. Obviously, the bite force of a single hyena is incredibly powerful. The dogs don't really want to go in it on its own. But as a group, they will very, very readily chase a hyena off of its own kill. Obviously, the hyenas will do the same. And then what can we say about the little chief, Hosana? He often caught meals too big for himself, and he wasn't always able to get them up the tree. And well, the hyenas in Djuma probably have survived the last year because of him and his antics of catching prey too big for himself. And here we've got, I'm not sure who that is. The tail is erect. Was he taking the nyala that Hosana so nicely had? There is an entire different scene of another hyena coming in and stealing another kill from Hosana. So it's not a once-off affair. He has constantly been under pressure from the hyenas out here, and slowly over time developing his own sort of reputation. Tingana doesn't seem to lose any food to hyenas. Hukumuri we don't really know. We don't spend too much time. But you'll notice with male leopards, after a period of time, hyenas start leaving them alone. In the beginning, they just take them out. They know through a smell. A hyena would know who Senzo is, who I am, very easily through smell. So they know who Tlalamba is, they know who Kumuri is, they know who Tandi is, and they know who they can compete with and who they can't. And I remember seeing leopards in the Singita property in the Kruger who would sit on the ground with a kill, and the hyenas just knew, no, I don't want to fight this male leopard. But a female leopard or a male that they know that's smaller and not so dominant, they'll quickly run in, sort of that element of dominance and of surprise. They come in confidently, and leopards generally will move away. But some leopards have earned their spots and their stripes indeed. And leopards and hyena here in Djuma, the dynamic continues. And we are going to be spending time with the Djuma clan and all of our various sort of what we should say, the dynasty of the leopards here over the next few years. And it has been wonderful being able to share all these hyenas with you. I know it's gone down a bit of a memory lane with some of you, but there's no cuter way to sort of get towards the end of the show. Isaac has lucked out this afternoon. He's taken the spoils from Gigi, and he is still with the gorgeous and cute Sausage Tree Pride.